local DJ is gunned down in the taxi cab.
Stephen White is dead before he falls over in his seat.
There's blood all over.
He had no way of knowing it was his last ride.
All investigators have to go on is a cryptic call to taxi dispatch.
I need somebody to come pick me up.
Detectives' hope was that somebody was going to go, I know who it is.
Do you think this will work?
Crazier things will certainly happen.
Tips start coming back in again. That reignites the investigation.
I know who shot the cab driver. Put your hands up!
But will all these leads point them to the killer or simply to a dead end?
Come on right now, we're coming in after you.
This could go a little ugly, but we're prepared for that. There are some people among us, they have rage and anger in their minds. It would be in everyone's interest not to be standing in front of one of those people when they have these episodes. The difficulty is knowing when they might occur.
There's one thing that never changes: murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved. Somebody has to look out for the victim.
If you kill, I will find you.
Deputy Randy Chris is patrolling the neighborhood, and it's late. And all of a sudden, he sees a cab stopped, but he doesn't see anybody in it. So he parks his patrol car and gets out. And there is somebody in it. There's blood all over, and there's glass on the hood of the car.
I have a code 9 out here. Go ahead and start me additional units. We may have a shooter here in the area.
Within the hour, El Paso County Homicide Detective Steve Gansel joins Detective Mark Finley on scene.
Hey, Steve. Hey, Mark. Man, it's been a week from hell, hasn't it?
A pager went off just as my head hit the pillow.
Back in the early 1990s, the sheriff's office only had about 8 investigators at any given time. Sometimes worked 2 or 3 days straight with no sleep.
What are we looking at here?
We got a body in the front seat of a cab. Deceased, multiple gunshot wounds.
Taxi, huh?
That is an extremely rare event in this area. Part of the reason is there aren't a lot of cabs.
Hey, Randy.
Detectives?
You the one who discovered the body?
I did. See this cab pulled over? I light it up, look inside, and this guy's just laying in there dead.
We get an ID?
We did. We ran the tags. They come back to Stephen White of Colorado Springs.
The victim was a white male, appeared to be in early 30s, with several gunshot wounds that were prevalent.
Any idea of the caliber?
Found 2 .44 slugs. That's about it.
It's like one of the slugs passed clean through and pierced the windscreen.
Bullet fragments were located where the dash meets the windshield. Once it hit the glass, the bullets then fragmented. That means that parts of the bullet came apart, and that there was damage to the glass itself because of the velocity of the bullet.
There are several types of bullets designed to increase the damage they commit to the human body. The most damaging is called a hollow point, where the slug is actually hollowed on the end, allowing the bullet to fragment and spread into a much wider piece of lead. Another bullet type is called a soft point bullet. It's half copper covered and half lead. The round lead end is the very end of the bullet, causing a mushrooming effect when it strikes an object like a human body.
We got glass on the hood as well.
The glass fragments show directionality, where a person would be behind the driver and the gun would have been up against their head or their neck.
Look at how he's laying.
Kind of an odd body position to be shot from behind.
Exactly.
You would think if you were sitting behind someone and you were to shoot someone, that the mere force of the gunshot would push someone forward. But when it was discovered, he was laying on the side, part of him in the right front floorboard, legs were extended down towards the driver's side. That would show or indicate that the body was pushed over sideways and maybe a search was done on the clothing if robbery would have been the motive.
Hey, check this out. The meter's still running.
We should shut that off, but let's make sure we get a picture of that.
Can we get a picture of this meter, please?
The amount that's on the register is $53.10.
That's a significantly high fare, which means the victim either drove his last customer a long ways or he'd been laying there dead for quite some time.
So what are you thinking? Robbery?
Certainly makes the most sense considering the circumstances.
Cab drivers are a target for armed robbers. They generally carry cash to make change for people who are getting in and out of their cabs.
Wait, check them for a wallet?
No, let's not disturb the body just yet. Let's get the whole cab towed over to the coroner's office with the body in it. They might be able to spot something that we can't see in bright light.
It's very, very rare that you would take a cab with a decedent and move it to a coroner's office, but it was something that we elected to do, be able to work in a controlled environment.
In the meantime, we're gonna head over to that cab company's central call station. Can you oversee the vehicle's transfer, please?
Do.
Thank you.
Cab drivers are dispatched. Someone calls in for a request for service, and the dispatcher call out to the cab driver and let them know there's a fare to be picked up at this location. It's imperative to go to the dispatch center for Yellow Cab and retrieve any information they may have as far as a call log or a recorded call that had come in.
I knew something was wrong when I didn't hear from him over the radio.
She tells Genzel they are required to call in on the radio to report that they're now going off duty, and he didn't do that. Well, he didn't do that because he couldn't do it.
How long had he been driving for the company?
Since before I started, so at least 5 years. He was one of our best drivers.
Stephen White was a really dependable employee. And he was well-liked by his coworkers, and he was being considered for the award of Driver of the Quarter.
How about his work schedule? Any idea who his last fare might have been?
Yeah, he started yesterday about noon, and then at about 8, he called in to say that he was going off duty for his dinner break.
At around 9:30, Charlotte received a phone call requesting a pickup. She called him via radio and told him that there was a fare waiting.
He radioed back that he was en route, and that was the last I heard from him.
Did you get a name for that fare?
No. The guy sounded really out of it. He wasn't even able to give me an exact address.
He couldn't explain where he was. He said he was at a payphone and he couldn't read the number.
He gave me enough information that I knew that it was near the convenience store out on Yucatan Drive.
I know that place. It's about 3 blocks from where we found Stephen's cab.
That means the fare that was picked up at that payphone, in all probability, would have been the same person that had killed Stephen White.
I'm wondering if you can help us with something. When we found the cab, the meter was still running. We shut it off at $53.10. Do you have any idea how long the car would have to be idling for the fare to go that high?
Yeah, let me see.
Based on the fare records maintained by the cab company, the dispatcher was able to determine that the meter had been running for just over 3 hours on that particular day. What makes that significant is that the cab responded to a request for transportation 3 hours before Genzel turned off that meter.
Is there any chance you have a recording of that call?
Oh, yeah, I should. We record all our calls.
Could we get a copy of that?
Sure. Give me just a minute.
It was imperative to have that to be able to put voice to a suspect, ultimately, if that suspect can be found.
Here you go.
This is great, thank you.
Can we ask one more favor? We're gonna have to get a hold of Stephen's family. Would you happen to have their contact information?
I should have that here. Here you go. His parents are listed as his emergency contact.
No, thanks. Can I hang on to this?
Sure.
I'll get it back to you soon. Thanks.
So now we were trying to track down Jerry and Mary White. We stopped at their residence and there was no one there. And ultimately it was discovered that they were currently out of state.
While waiting to hear back from Stephen White's parents, detectives check in with the coroner.
Hey, Bowerman.
Detectives?
CSI find anything interesting in that cab?
Doesn't sound like it, but when they removed the body for autopsy, found this in his pocket.
When the body was moved, the coroner would then remove anything and everything from the pockets. And it was discovered the wallet was still in there.
Is there any cash in there?
Yep, $16 and a couple credit cards. So whoever did this wasn't necessarily looking for money.
Now we need to think twice if this is actually a robbery or if this was a planned murder.
A lot of possibilities on this one.
You know, I know somebody I think might be able to help us with this. Why don't you go home and take a break for a while?
You sure?
Yeah, I'll call you in a bit. Thanks, Bowerman.
You got it.
Across town at CSPD headquarters, Sergeant Joe Kenda is prepping for another day on the grind.
I would come in early, and I would make 3 pots of coffee. Those police departments run on coffee.
Just the man I wanted to see.
Steve, what brings you to our neck of the woods?
I've been up all night on a murder. Cab driver found this car over in the Widefield area.
Really?
So we start to have a discussion about what this is all about.
We got a call into his next to kin, but we haven't heard anything back yet.
Okay, what can I do to help?
As soon as the victim's family is notified, we'd like to use Crime Stoppers tip line.
Crime Stoppers is a great asset for law enforcement. A lot of people don't want to become involved, so they can remain anonymous.
I think we're gonna need the public's help on this one. First, we were thinking it was a robbery. I don't know, now we're not so sure.
I'm always happy to help. You know that.
Appreciate it, Joe. Sure. Thanks again.
So the next question becomes, who is Stephen White? And who may know who has some issue with him?
Later that afternoon, Ganzo finally connects with Stephen White's father.
Mr. White, I'm very sorry to have to tell you this.
Doesn't make any sense.
Mr. White, expectedly, was very distraught in the news of the murder of his son. He was very well liked. He graduated out of high school valedictorian.
He went to the University of Colorado Boulder and gotten a degree in communications. He had a passion for music. And so he worked part-time at KRCC, which is our local national public radio station.
Hey everybody, this is Stephen White. You're listening to KRCC. I'm gonna be spinning some of Colorado's favorite reggae for the next few hours. Let's get into it.
Steve wanted to be a full-time DJ, and this was the beginning of that trajectory. Everybody at the radio station respected Steve. They liked him. He came in at 2 in the morning and left at 5 in the morning. After having driven a cab all night to pay his bills, was a labor of love. Stephen's show was under a generalized format we called freeform, and our library was huge. It was massive. It had world music, jazz, reggae, rock, folk, bluegrass, Celtic music, pipes and fiddles. And a DJ, a music lover, could come in at that time and really play anything they wanted. And the art was to sort of blend it all together and not alienate the listener. There was an art to it. And Stephen did that. He was working on that.
Mr. White, would you happen to know who your son primarily associated with?
I mean, he has a number of friends, but probably better off asking Victoria.
Victoria? Who's she?
Well, technically, she's still his wife.
His son was married 6 years before this event to a woman named Victoria. They are currently separated, but it's amicable.
Would you happen to know how I can get a hold of her?
Yeah, she's an elementary school teacher in the Springs.
Although the father describes the separation as civil, perhaps there's more to that divorce that he's not aware of.
It was crucial. We tracked her down.
I was always afraid that this was going to happen.
When they got married, she thought that the cab driving was a temporary job, but he just kept driving, and he'd be gone all the time.
Can you share with us where you were around 9:30 last night?
Me? I was with a friend of mine.
Can I get your friend's name?
His name was Jay Brewer.
She says he's only a friend. She denies any romantic involvement, and they were watching a movie at his residence.
Are you looking at me as a suspect?
Look, ma'am.
You can forget about it. I did not have anything to do with this. I mean, how could you even think that?
It's nothing personal. We just need to explore all the avenues.
The wife seems generally distressed, but she does not have a solid alibi, and she can't be ruled out just yet.
After detectives make contact with Stephen's family, the Crime Stoppers tip line opens up and quickly delivers a possible lead.
Sergeant Kenda, I've got a woman in the lobby that claims she knows something about the murder of the cab driver over in Widefield. She said she'll only talk to you about it.
Bring her in.
That is not unusual, unfortunately, because everyone in Colorado Springs knew who I was and knew my name. So if they had a police complaint, their neighbor had a barking dog, or their neighbor had a limb that had grown over their fence and they were thus trespassing on their property, I want to talk to Kenda and I don't want to talk to anybody else. The front desk people are well aware of that.
Hey, doing that? Have a seat. Maybe some coffee or something?
I'm okay.
What can you tell me about what happened to Stephen White?
Well, I think I know who did it. I think it's this guy I know named Ken Chambers.
She says, I know that Stephen has borrowed money from this guy and hasn't paid him back.
The sheriff's department's handling this case. I'm gonna need you to tell them exactly what you told me.
I don't want to give them my name. I don't want Chambers to know I'm talking to the cops.
No, that's not a problem.
So we've gotten nowhere for 4 days, and now maybe we've gotten somewhere. Who is Mr. Chambers, and why is he not getting paid back? Did that make you angry? Oh yeah, it did. The El Paso County Sheriff's Department and the Colorado Springs PD are jointly investigating the death of Stephen White, a cab driver and part-time disc jockey, and a woman has come forward naming who she believes is the shooter in this case.
Sergeant Kenda told me that you think this friend of yours, Ken Chambers, may have killed Stephen White over a debt?
That's what I'm afraid of. I've known Stephen for years, and he was always borrowing money from everybody. But I think Ken loaned him a pretty large amount.
She thought maybe Ken got tired of waiting and wanted to get vengeance back on Stephen and committed homicide.
After Stephen's murder, I asked Ken, did you ever get your money back?
And Ken said, no, he didn't. I saw him the night he died. He came by my house. Now that is interesting.
Do you know where Ken lives?
Yeah, over in Widefield, pretty close to where they found Stephen's cab.
This is pretty good. We have money being owed. We have an admission by Mr. Chambers that he sees him that night. So Genzel's next step, of course, is to find Mr. Chambers and see what he has to say for himself.
It's all just so weird. I mean, Stephen was over here like right before he was killed.
Ken described that the night that Stephen was killed, Stephen had come by his home for a dinner break.
We understand you lent him some money?
Yeah, money was always tight for him. I mean, over the past few years, I helped him out a few times.
Ken said, we've been friends for a long time. I never really cared if he paid me back or not. So we go from what seems to be such a promising lead that actually goes up in smoke in front of Genzel.
If you ask me, all those money problems can be traced back to his wife. She was bringing him down.
Mr. Chambers is not a big fan of Stephen's wife. In his opinion, Stephen worked several jobs to pay his wife's way through grad school to get a master's degree in education. And all the money problems emanate from that.
He and Victoria recently separated. Stephen told me she was cheating on him. Said he found love letters from some guy from school.
Do you happen to know the name?
I think it was Brewer? Jay Brewer.
The reason Genzel is interested is he remembers that when Victoria spoke with him, she told him she was with a friend named Jay Brewer, and they were watching a movie. So Mr. Chambers looked very interesting, but now Jay Brewer looks even more interesting.
Okay, thanks for your help.
Is it possible that Jay Brewer wanted to remove his girlfriend's husband from the equation? Detectives waste no time tracking down an address for their new suspect.
Excuse me. Can I help you? You Jay Brewer?
Yeah.
You know a Victoria White?
Yeah, I know Victoria. We took a class together at Colorado College.
How would you describe your relationship with Victoria?
We're just friends, that's all.
The first thing the average person does is distance himself from any romance. No one likes to admit their romantic involvement with anyone because it puts them in the middle of things, and no one likes to be in the middle.
I mean, she may have feelings for me, but we didn't have a thing, okay?
Can you tell us what you were doing Thursday night?
You think I had something to do with her husband's death? But you out of your mind, man.
Okay. Would you mind answering the question, please?
I was with Victoria. And we watched a movie, that's all.
She says at approximately 9:30, they stopped at a movie rental location. They rent a movie.
You have any proof that's what you did?
Mike, let me check.
At this point, anything is possible. If Victoria and Jay were involved in an extramarital affair, Jay could have committed the homicide, and Victoria certainly could have given him an alibi.
Here you go.
Mr. Brewer produces a receipt from a video rental place that's date and timestamp that matches exactly what he's been saying.
Okay, Mr. Brewer, appreciate your cooperation.
Yeah, all right.
So for now, they're not considered suspects.
Later that afternoon, Gansel regroups with Kenda.
So you haven't made much headway on a suspect?
Not really. Every lead we have relating to his personal life seems to just go up in smoke.
Gansel tells me we're not finding a personal motive. And Gansel is very concerned that they're not going to get to the bottom of this.
So maybe it wasn't a robbery after all.
I guess it's possible. We contacted the bank and found he'd made a deposit at 4 o'clock that afternoon.
From 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock, when he also was driving, he could have had more fares and thus could have some more money than the $16 we found in his wallet.
If it is robbery, our suspect pool just gets deeper.
You still got the audio recording of the last fare, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, if you're thinking the caller's your killer, then all you got to do is find out who that voice belongs to.
At this point in the investigation, the main piece of evidence that we had was the audio tape that the caller made in the yellow cab. So we made various copies and went back out to the neighborhood in a hope that someone would recognize that voice.
I'm going to play a recording of a voice for you, and can you tell me if you've ever heard this voice before?
Sure.
I'd just like you to listen to the voice on this recording and tell me if you recognize it.
I need somebody to come pick me up. I don't know the address, but I'll give you the intersection.
No, I've never heard that voice before. I'm sorry.
I've Not never. At all? Thank you very much for your time.
After a few hours on the street, Gansel's unusual plan finally pays off.
Yeah, I think I know who that is.
There's a company that operates nearby, and they do shift work. One guy said, you know, that sounds to me like Tyler Johnson.
Who's Tyler Johnson?
He used to work here. Guy would come to work drunk half the time. He was always causing trouble. I finally had to fire him.
He also stated that on the night of the murder, he had seen him at a local bar. He was highly intoxicated, belligerent. He wouldn't put it past him being involved in a major crime.
Any chance you recall what time it was when he left?
Well, I left not long after he did, and I got home about 10, so it must have been about 9:30 or so.
We know the call into Yellow Cab was at 9:30, so this individual then became a person of interest.
Any idea where I can find Mr. Johnson?
I could look his address up for you in our employee records, if you want.
I'd really appreciate that.
Here we have a guy who apparently likes to drink. He has an extremely bad temper, and he sounds just like the voice on the recording. Is Tyler Johnson our man? Maybe. So let's go see. The El Paso County Sheriff's Department and the PD are investigating the death of Stephen White, who was found shot to death in his cab.
I need somebody to come pick me up.
We have recently obtained information that a disgruntled former employee of a business close to the crime scene is a potential suspect.
When detectives Gansel and Finley travel to the home of Tyler Johnson, their potential suspect is nowhere in sight.
I don't know where he is, and I don't care neither.
The wife reports she kicked him out a week ago, ever since he got fired for his drinking and his attitude, and then he assaulted her, and that was the final step.
Okay, well, you wouldn't happen to know where he was on the night of April 26th, would you?
Oh, yeah. He came to my door begging for me to take him back that night. I wouldn't let him in.
She closed the door on him, and she has no idea as to where he went or what he did after that encounter with her.
What kind of car does Tyler drive?
Tyler don't have no car. He like taking cabs everywhere. Damn fool.
Do you think he's capable of killing someone?
I don't know. When he's drinking? Maybe.
So here we have someone who moves around by taxi cab, who is in a foul mood after his wife kicks him out for the final time. Is he a suspect? I would say he has suspect tattooed on his forehead.
Do you know how we can reach Tyler?
I can talk to his sister. She'll let him know you're looking for him.
We'd appreciate that.
Thankfully, Gansel won't have to wait very long to make Tyler Johnson's acquaintance.
Detective.
Yes.
There's a man here to see you. His name's Tyler Johnson.
Really? Where?
He's in the lobby.
I thought to myself, this is it. This is our guy. Outstanding.
I understand you guys are looking for me.
And as soon as he opened his mouth, all the air went out of my sails. Knowing what the caller sounded like on the audio tape, it was absolutely two different people.
Yeah, would you mind coming back to my office for a couple minutes?
It was a letdown, but I still needed to speak with him to find out what he was doing during that time frame when Stephen was killed.
I ain't even gonna lie. Sometimes when I drink too much, I can lose control.
He admits that he does drink heavily. He does become aggressive and belligerent. The night of the murder, he openly admits he was at a bar close to where Stephen's taxi was found.
I left the bar around 9:30. Started walking home. Tried to call my wife, see if she'll let me come back in. She wasn't having none of that.
What'd you do after that?
I had the keys to my wife's car in my pocket, so I crawled in and passed out.
Boy, talk about hitting the skids. He admitted he was in a pretty rotten place in his life.
I know I gotta do better if she's ever gonna let me come back home again.
Sure.
Tyler's story followed an entire straight line of logic. So from his straightforwardness and just gut instinct, he was ruled out as a suspect.
After the sheriff's office strikes out with yet another suspect, Kenda swings for the fences.
When you are looking for information and you're running out of sources, you try to widen your base.
Hey, Ann, it's Joe. Yeah, I was wondering if you guys might be willing to help us out.
We need more people to become interested in this problem. Who is this guy? To accomplish that, the Sheriff's Department and the PD contact Channel 5 News to see if they would be willing to do a reenactment of the event.
Out of that action once the cab comes.
If you wanted to get the word out and ask for public help, that was really the way to do it.
Right behind me here on Yucatan Drive is where Stephen White was shot to death in his taxi cab. When we come back, we're going to recreate his brutal murder and let you know how you can help with the investigation.
That was great, Ann.
Thank you.
Working with Ann Urban was outstanding. She worked hand in hand with law enforcement.
So where did the deputy enter from?
Well, just like you see the car right here, he pulled up directly behind the cab, and then he approached on the driver's side.
Okay, great, thank you.
You bet.
Oscar, can we try and figure out where we're going to get sticks up over here?
Yes, ma'am, you got it.
We did not often do crime recreation, but this really had the community bothered. So we were delighted to be of help.
Hey, Joe. So, do you think this will work?
Crazier things will certainly happen.
Television is a very powerful medium. If you can get Channel 5 to show this on the evening news, you can generate new leads.
And I almost forgot. We also would like to get you a copy of the actual phone call that was made to the cab company right before Mr. White was killed.
I had worked in quite a few cities in news before I moved back to Colorado Springs. And I would tell you hands down, I always felt like Colorado Springs police were some of the best trained, best educated, and easiest to work with I had run across. They were very non-threatened. They tended to be extremely helpful. They would give you what they could. And therefore, when they asked a favor of us, we were typically very keen to do what they needed. And they didn't do it very much. They did not abuse that. So it was a really amicable relationship. And we were generally very pleased to be asked.
We believe that the voice on the recording might be the actual killer.
That would be great. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Minutes after the reenactment airs on the nightly news, the phones at CSPD start ringing.
A confidential informant comes forward through Crime Stoppers and said, I watched Channel 5 tonight, and I've got something to tell you.
I know who shot the cab driver, and his name is Precious.
In a criminal investigation, you're punching in the dark, trying to find somebody that says, ouch. You need something to get your hands around, and we have our hands around a Precious.
I know who shot the cab driver.
A reliable informant has come forward with information providing a first name of someone he believes is the killer of our part-time disc jockey and cab driver, Stephen White.
Kenda convinces the informant to meet with detectives down at the station.
So this person you claim shot the cab driver's name is Precious? Is that male or female?
It's a dude, a black dude.
I have to admit, never in my life would have ever imagined a killer with the first name of Precious.
Precious is his real name, not a nickname, but I don't know his last name.
What makes you think he's the shooter?
On the night that cabbie got shot, I saw Precious and his brother. They were partying pretty hard.
Hey, man, let's see what's up.
He was at a party when Precious shows up.
What's up? Hey, how you doing? What's up? What's up? How we doing? How we doing, man?
Through the course of the evening, the partygoers, along with Precious, are ingesting cocaine.
He started to get completely geeked out on cocaine.
Get that. Let's go, man. That's it. We out. Oh, man. Why you took the last of it? Get your cheap ass out of here. I paid for it, so I finished. Oh, man, what that's supposed to mean? Precious, relax. Cracking like a little bitch. Hey, man, what the you say? Man, don't disrespect me like that, man. Say something. What's up now, fool?
Precious becomes uncontrollable and was trying to get in a fight with his own brother.
Crazy. Do something, man. Do something.
Precious, chill out, man. Chill, bro.
No, man. Hey, yo, Marcus, get your boy. I don't care if you're my brother. I still beat his ass.
It was very apparent this would go bad quick if he stayed.
You tripping, man.
Get out, bro.
Get out, bro.
It's out.
Just go crazy ass somewhere else. So Precious does leave with another partygoer, Marcus Melville.
I saw Marcus the next day, and he said that Precious pulled a gun on him after they left the party.
Yo, man, you got some blow, man?
What?
Oh, you got some blow?
Yeah, chill out with all that, man.
Give it to me, man.
What?
Give it to me, man. I'm serious. Yo, give me this, man. Let's go. Yeah.
Marcus tells the CI he is pissed. This guy is supposed to have been my friend. He robs me of my cocaine.
I saw that reenactment of the shooting on the news, where the cab was. I think that's where Marcus said that Precious took off running.
The CI described this location, and it was in a very close proximity from the intersection of a convenience store where a payphone was at.
Did Marcus say anything about the gun that Precious pulled on him?
He said that Precious picked it up at a pawn shop a few days before this all went down.
I'll have my guys look into that.
If you own a pawn shop and you are a firearms dealer, if you sell a gun, but everything about this gun and everything about the buyer is forwarded to the pawn shop detail of the police department.
Thanks so much for coming forward with this.
I'll call you when I know something.
Thanks, Joe.
So now it's a matter of hand searching the gun sales in the past week or so and look for somebody named Precious.
While Kenda checks for information on the weapon, Gansel has a chat with Marcus Melville.
I don't know who told you I was at that party, but none of it's true.
Melville adamantly denied any knowledge of the party or even known Precious.
So nobody pulled a gun on you and took your cocaine?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Never in my career someone admit they had their drugs stolen.
So that's how you want to play this, Marcus?
You got it twisted. I ain't playing nothing.
A couple blocks away, Kenda is hoping to have better luck with the CSPD's pawn unit.
Any luck, Sam?
Yeah, actually. We found a purchase for a firearm for one Precious Thompson about a week before Stephen White was killed.
Okay.
The best part is, the gun was a .44 revolver.
Precious Thompson has a record as long as your arm, and this gun file says that he bought a .44 Magnum pistol. We have Precious Thompson with the right gun.
Do you mind if I take this?
Yeah, I made it for you. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So now Detective Finley and myself went to the pawn shop. The sales clerk did remember the transaction.
Oh yeah, Precious. Hard to forget a name like that.
Do you have the purchase form he filled out?
Yeah, let me see.
When you buy a gun from a licensed gun dealer, you fill out a government form. One of the questions on that form is, have you ever been convicted of a crime punishable by imprisonment in a specified number of years?
There you go.
Well, that's interesting. I was told Precious Thompson did some serious jail time. He didn't put that on that form.
That is a federal offense to lie on a gun purchase form. He's committed a crime. We can arrest him right now for that.
At that point, an arrest warrant was obtained. Knowing his previous criminal history, the decision was made to surround his house and try to talk Precious out of his residence.
Everyone knows their roles, right? All right, let's see if we can get them to come out peacefully. Now we'll go to plan B.
When you have an individual who is believed to be responsible for a homicide that has a long and deep criminal history, the likelihood is great that there's going to be gunfire when you try to arrest someone like that.
Precious Thompson, this is the police. Come out with your hands up.
Sergeant Kenda called to come out, voluntarily surrender himself.
What y'all want, man?
You could see him storming through the house, breaking things, slamming things.
Damn pig. It's over, Mr. Thompson. If you don't come out right now, we're coming in after you.
This could go a little ugly, but we're prepared for that. Once we enter that home, it's going to be very clear to Mr. Thompson he has two choices, surrender or die.
What y'all want to do?
Ready or not, Precious, here we come.
It's over, Mr. Thompson.
So here we could have determined the identity of a person who is responsible for shooting Stephen White to death in his cab. He's no longer a voice on a recording. He is Precious Thompson, and we are about to arrest him for murder.
If you don't come out right now, we're coming in after you. Yo, get out of my place, man! What y'all trying to do, man? Your hands in the air. Yo, what y'all pigs want, man? Step forward. But they ain't do nothing. Keep moving. You guys trying to frame me. Stop right there. Down on your knees. Do it now.
Precious is put in a police car and transported to the sheriff's department.
And immediately, there was a search warrant for his residence. The most important aspect was a firearm. Specifically, the firearm that was used to kill Stephen White.
You want as much evidence as you can get your hands on. And what we want is that gun. We assume it's here because people like Mr. Thompson, who are criminals, when they get their hands on a gun, they reserve it for further use. They rarely throw it away. They'll conceal it maybe, but they'll keep it.
So investigators began a systematic and methodical search of that house, and I can truthfully say we searched every drawer, every vent, every crack, every nook, everything was searched.
Over the next several hours, officers methodically combed through every room of the house.
That house was turned upside down. Everything was searched.
Sir, I think I found something.
We found the receipt for the purchase of the .44 caliber revolver.
What do you got?
Let's find that gun.
Sounds like a plan. Maybe he ditched it somewhere else. We haven't checked there yet.
Under the plants?
Hey, you never know.
Genzel sees 3 large potted plants. He walked over there and started digging through the dirt.
Bingo.
I'll be damned. You make out the numbers?
It's a match.
We checked the serial number. It is the same gun that Precious Thompson purchased a few days before the murder at the pawn shop.
Gansel returns to the sheriff's office to try to extract a confession from Precious Thompson.
Mr. Thompson, I need you to tell me about the murder of cab driver Stephen White.
I don't know nothing about that.
Okay. What can you tell me about the .44 caliber handgun you bought at a pawn shop?
I bought it for protection. So what? It's my Second Amendment right.
He did admit buying the gun, but he stated it was for his own personal protection.
Well, here's the thing, Precious. You lied on the application to purchase that gun. That's a felony.
What? Come on, man.
That's why your bond's been set at $50,000.
You tripping? 50 grand? Man, that's some you guys trying to lock me up for something I didn't do. I'm done talking to you.
You have that right.
He became enraged. He didn't want to talk with investigators anymore.
Without a confession, Gansel looks for other ways to cement a conviction.
It's absolutely imperative that we put Precious in that cab, making that phone call, and committing that murder. So I'd come up with a plan to prove that Precious is the one that made the call.
Okay, Precious, we're gonna make this simple. All you gotta do is say what's on the note.
Are you serious, man?
You ready?
He was given a transcript of what was said by the caller, and he needed to read that verbatim.
He dials the yellow cab number, and they record it at the yellow cab using the same equipment.
I need someone to come pick me up. I ain't sure the address, but I know the intersection.
Thank you. Wasn't so bad, was it?
Detectives send out the new recording and the original call for comparative analysis.
We have that sent to a laboratory in Los Angeles to see if they could make a determination that that voice was one and the same.
I need somebody to come pick me up. I don't know the address, but I can give you the intersection.
Eventually, the report comes back from these people that is with a high degree of confidence, they say, that the voice on the original tape is in fact the voice of Precious Thompson.
When confronted with the vocal confirmation, Precious finally gives detectives what they've been looking for.
Yeah, I shot the boy. I was high and drunk, and I needed the cash. That what y'all want to hear?
Yeah, that'll do.
I just want y'all on my face so I can go back to prison and relax.
Precious Thompson is sent to the Colorado State Penitentiary, where he then can apparently relax.
Based on the evidence and Thompson's confession, Kenda and Gansel have a clear idea of what happened on the night of the murder.
Precious Thompson is heavily using cocaine, and the use of cocaine induces a feeling of paranoia and also enhances your level of anger and rage.
Do something, man! Do something!
Precious, chill out. It ain't worth it, brothers.
Get out, bro.
It's valid.
Just go crazy ass somewhere else.
Precious Thompson is raging on cocaine.
Chill out with all that, man.
Give it to me, man.
He pulls a gun and robs his friend of his money and his drugs.
Man, let's go! Yeah. Yeah.
Precious then ran off to the closest payphone.
Yeah. I need somebody to come pick me up. I don't know the address, but I can give you the intersection. All right, yeah. Hurry up.
Waiting for the yellow cab, Precious did more cocaine.
Meanwhile, Stephen White leaves his friend's house.
All right, dude. I gotta go to work.
All right, man. Thanks for the pizza.
Thanks, man.
And he drives to the intersection that he's been given by the dispatcher. He had no way of knowing it was his last drive.
Yo, man, open the door, man. Yo, what took y'all so long, man? It's cold out here.
Sorry, man. Try to get here as fast as I could. Where do you need to go?
Yo, take me downtown.
Yeah.
Precious is volatile. He owes people drugs, he owes people money. So he thought he'll try to get money from the driver.
Yo, man, you got any money on you?
Money?
Yo, give me everything you got. Whoa, 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 what? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Look, I'm serious. Please, man, hand me the money now.
Okay,
Quit playing,
okay,
man.
take it easy, man.
What is over, man? Hurry up.
All right, look.
What the hell is this?
This ain't. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Over there, man. Serious.
I've only had a few fares, and when I bank deposit, that's all I had at the time, okay?
But do you know who I am?
No, I don't.
Precious Thompson, who can't control his temper in the best of circumstances, goes off like a Roman candle.
No.
Stephen White is dead before he falls over in the seat.
Precious then pushes the body of Stephen over to search his pockets to see if he had any more money.
Cocaine drives people to kill. It hijacks the pleasure center of the mind, and it never, ever gives it back.
At the end of this sad affair, Precious Thompson pleads guilty to second-degree murder and is sentenced to 58 years in prison.
1 year later, Stephen White's parents testified before Congress in support of the Brady Bill to ensure that their son's death was not in vain.
The Brady Bill was designed to require a 5-day waiting period and a complete federal criminal background investigation to prevent guns from falling into the hands of people with a criminal history.
Stephen's parents pointed out that their son might still be alive if the Brady Bill had been a law at the time of his death.
Stephen White's parents, Jerry and Mary White, absolutely made an impact for thousands, maybe even millions of other families since the early 1990s, when ultimately the Brady Bill became enacted.
And that was a big deal because it was largely opposed. This was a family that lived in Colorado Springs, which was a very anti-Brady Bill town. Very pro-gun, very anti-gun control. It was a huge issue.
I think that the firearms backgrounds absolutely should be conducted. And it was an unfortunate that Precious was able to acquire a handgun so easily, being a convicted felon. It's too easy to lie on a piece of paper and hope you don't get caught. But now with federal background checks, it's more complicated. It's run through the FBI. And if you have any arrest record, it's going to come up. With Precious, it didn't.
It's always a tragic thing when someone loses their life in a violent manner. It's even more tragic because of the gun laws at the time. He was able to purchase a firearm, which he should have never been able to do. And in today's world, he would not have been able to do.